also just been picking like Elise in the jungle, just like standard bot lanes too, and it's nothing crazy or out of the ordinary. So it's not like they've mastered the patch better, at least not from my perspective. They've just been able to outplay when it counts the most, and now we're in pick ban phase, and clearly they've already got a plan. Lucian once again banned out here. Just no more. Black Cleaver. We don't want to see it.
We don't want any of them. Whoa, okay, 80 carry bans. So where does that drop us? Ezreal would be the next priority, or at least typically what we've seen the last couple of days.
And really interesting here that this is what they've opted to ban out. I think the Bard coming off makes a lot of sense. I think good respect ban over from Falco, and clearly like K1ck have done their homework, right? They saw Falco. Falco made the plays that changed the pace of that game, and now we're at 4 bot lane bans, 3 of those being 80 carries.
This is very different to what we've seen. So that means Nidalee or Ryze or Azir is going to be available for this game. We've seen a lot of ban priority on all of them. So where does that leave us exactly? We are still waiting. 3rd ban from K1ck.
We saw MF in day 1. Is this the return of MF? Because there's no other 80 carries pick.
It's going to be Ryze here, first pick. Like for K1ck, when you look at what's available, I mean, that has to be the first pick here.
Ryze has only made it through once, and it was a win, and it was an insanely dominant win, too. So it's really surprising to see Ryze make it through. Of course, Azir and Lissandra also insanely powerful, but...
Unless they go jungle. The other thing is they could go jungle route here and look for the Nidalee that has been available. We know LeChase loves the Nidalee as well.
That's very true.
Didn't have the best start on day 1, but in the qualifiers and everything leading up to this, very good Nidalee.
Great game. If you haven't seen that second game from the qualifiers, you can just watch LeChase pretty much put on a clinic on that Nidalee, but it's not going to be their focus here. This is the Braum first pick coming out, and this is... you know, par for the course. This is exactly how they started pick bans yesterday.
Then surely here you take like 2 of the massive power picks that are left. It's either Ryze and Nidalee here. Trundle is available as well. High priority on him. He's still 100% pick ban. So you can take 2 of whatever is left and just be like, okay, well, you have what the rest.
But there's so much power on the board. Maybe this was K1ck's plan, because now they have access to the Ryze. They can adapt their pick bans. I always get excited about these hover. It's such a mistake.
Never get excited about
I know. All right, but we've got Braum. So far, Trundle and Nidalee locked in on the opposite side. So that's a lot of jungle. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Jungle power on the side of G2V.
So I'm going to say it now. Ryze should probably be coming in this rotation, considering you're blind picking your mid laner. What better than Ryze? I mean, you could pick a support. Well, you've already got your supports. You could pick a jungle with it, perhaps, and look to flex.
Yeah, but let's just stick to the classics, I think, is what Chico's saying here. He says, 9-1 and 7, it was almost perfect. Not enough for me.
It did work well for him yesterday for Chico. This is a weird pick and ban phase.
This is insane.
Because now G2 have access to get Trundle, Nidalee, Ryze on this patch.
No Sivir, though, for the Ryze. I feel like that's an affecting thing. It's a little bit harder to get on that Victor. But at the same time, I feel like all you have to do is 1 flash from Ryze to get over that gravity field, and you're just instantly dead. Like, even if Victor responds with flash, he's out of CC options, right?
Yeah, I think the problem, though, is when you look at it, is he giving very just strong picks when it comes to their control of the game. Like, Nidalee's going to be able to control the jungle. Trundle, if he goes up to the top lane against most champions, is going to be able to control. There is a Gnar still available that can come out. So there's just a difficulty now that you might just end up losing a bunch of lanes.
Well.
Okay.
Finally.
Well.
Years later, some might say. Ryze is going to be locked in here. This is the second rotation from G2 alongside Kalista. Do you think that Trundle is going to be paired with Kalista here? What support is ideal in this situation?
Honestly, it depends on what K1ck lock in here. Depends on the top lane matchup. That's when you decide whether you want the Trundle up there or the Trundle in the support role. Thing is, Trundle into Caitlyn, kind of a tough one. Just because you got to try and close like 600 range. It's like, please don't harass me while I run at you. So it is difficult. But then looking at it, K1ck, they've got wave clear, they've got good presence when it comes to the Victor, the Caitlyn damage alongside. So as long as Caitlyn gets a couple of items, there is still a lot of potential for K1ck here. They've got control in the early game alongside it.
Interesting though. Looks like we may. Oh man, hover's just a trap. Okay, new theory. Kalista, pair it with the Thresh. We get the pick potential. We get the Skinergy bot lane. If you don't know me, you know I'm really big on color matching in the bot lane, but we are going to get the picks on the side of K1ck so we can actually talk about League of Legends again. Sorry, sorry to derail you briefly, but it is going to be that Poppy in the Gragas. Gragas jungle, once again, one of the picks that has been kind of rising up here on patch 610.
It has been, but I feel like if you're going to play it into the Nidalee, you got to be prepared for Nidalee to come into your jungle early and then just kind of walk in and say, hey, I'm going to duel you, and you're not going to do too much against me.
That was the most like refrained version of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to come in and steal everything you own and murder you would have been my version, but I like your respectful, like, I'm coming for the duel.
I mean,
kind sir.
Us Brits, we like to tell you where we're going to fight, when we're going to fight, pick a field, and we'll set up on a pitched battle.
We didn't follow those rules.
No, clearly not. But at this point, honestly, I just feel like the jungle matchup is a tough one for LeChase.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time we've said that. You're apparently a prophet.
Look, I don't think it's for Skinnergy, though, so don't give me too much credit here. They may have just picked it because it does. I mean, the Death Sentence is a great engage option.
Yeah, I mean, if they were looking for engage, though, the Alistar would be available. Obviously, did get nerfed, and we were expecting him to fall down in priority, and you kind of don't want Alistar into Caitlyn all that often. You're never going to close that gap, no. So there are issues there. We'll see, because Thresh is a tough one to get in competitive right now. A lot of players will say, well, if you're a Thresh god, you should pick it. But if you're not, it's so difficult to get enough working from that support role. So honestly, when you look at it with that locked in, I'm not as big a fan of the bot lane for G2V as I am of the top side of the map. I like the Trundle, the Nidalee, the Ryze.
That's
I think
insane.
That's a very strong setup.
This is like the most top-loaded map ever, right? Like, that's so much raw power.
Yeah, but we did have a Bard ban against Falco. We also had Lucian Sivir Ezreal banned in this setup, so I guess I can excuse...
The thing is what else do you pick, right? Yeah. Like, we so much focus on the bot lane, and Braum taken off the table as well. Alistar with those nerfs, and really limiting the pool here. So, yes.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt what I'm talking about to be excited about my Skinnergy point. Clearly, someone else understands how important color schemes are to working together in the bot lane.
And then Zombie Ryze shows up and is just like, oh,
yeah, it's true. It does a little bit Skinnergy.
Does that make Constable Trundle the fashion police in this game?
It could be. If so, we better, you know, shut down Ryze here. If there's any incredibly disrespectful pillars where Ryze is trapped, we'll know that Trundle truly is the fashion police. But once again, this is going to be it. The matchup, potentially to end all international matchups. It's going to be Portugal's K1ck Esports versus Spain's own G2 Vodafone. Blue versus red. Teams running out of the base. There's Skinnergy. There's crazy picks. There's bot lane bans. And Ryze somehow made it through.
Somehow. I really don't know. We'll see whether Miniduke just kind of takes control of this game. Because you remember the game where we had Ryze, the one other game?
Yeah.
He was playing into like a Lissandra.
Literally sat in the bush and then murdered someone when they approached him?
Within 2 seconds. It was just like Rune Prison Q and then just did it all over again. Yeah. Like hit him with an E and...
I mean, there's too many buttons. I want you to give me the breakdown, but at the same time, I'm like, you have to say 30 skill names in a row because it took 2 seconds, but he pushed a lot of buttons.
I'd just like put ellipses and be dead at the end of it. We'll see if he gets that opportunity in this game. So there is the engage potential out of G2V now with the Kalista with the Thresh alongside it. Just depends on how they get through this early game. Theoretically, with Inkos on this Nidalee, if they can open up the path to get into the jungle, he can out-jungle LeChase. But we are looking like we're at a lane swap in this one. You can see Caitlyn headed towards top side. Going to be a bit more difficult to find any kind of jungle 1v1 duels right now. It doesn't tend to happen in a lane swap.
Which is probably a very good thing in the end for K1ck overall, right? We talked about how scary Nidalee is to play against and really limiting the options here in a lane swap. But it looks like duo jungle to start. So they've got the flexibility here as both sides opt to take the Gromp for the bottom lanes at least. Non-standard lanes, we've seen pretty much exactly what we saw in 6-8, I would say, in terms of the first tower take. All that experience going over to the Kalista.
Ooh, Sendu. This is, I mean, he's going to have to leave this lane as soon as the Caitlyn shows up.
Yeah, and without a doubt. And while he, as a fellow police officer, is probably unhappy with what I'm sure is Caitlyn breaking dress code, he's going to have to just walk away from that one.
And I feel like this is K1ck. I mean, generally when you see a Caitlyn, you're thinking, well, she's going to want the lane dominance. She's going to want the presence there. So it's going to be standard lanes. I just wonder whether G2 Vodafone actually had anticipated the swap. Because of the way Trundle came up to lane, he didn't take any of the small camps first. and just walked up to lane. So I think he figured it was standard lanes in the start of this game.
He must have, and they're adapting pretty well, but you can see they are a few seconds behind. Trundle's running his way down to bottom, but Poppy is already on the top side.
But Kalista and Thresh did push past the turret and cut the minion wave away. This is just stopping their minions from dying ever so slightly. You can see the difference in wave position right now. It's pushed slightly further forward for G2 Vodafone, so it offsets some of the presence
but at the same time,
tower.
This is 2 waves stacked up for K1ck.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other side of this, is K1ck were already stacking. There was no real problems with what they were pushing in here. So now you've got the Caitlyn that's going to clear it away. Look at how much she can just damage those minions already. Whereas on the bottom side, a little bit tougher to do. And K1ck, at this point, you know, I think K1ck should just about have an advantage. We haven't seen top tower health in a little while, but look at the minion wave run out. It forces G2 Vodafone back a bit.
Yep. Moving back, of course, mid lane remaining as aggressive as ever. Spear actually going to hit onto Shiko. No, not going to follow that one up, but Inkos threatening a lot of damage there, and that's insanely terrifying to lane against this Ryze Nidalee combo. Nidalee, though. Gragas maybe fighting for that camp. We are going to see the bottom lane tower drop.
Just ahead of top lane tower.
Spear still hits Gragas. Ryze coming down. He's ready for the follow-up. LeChase, is he going to have to flash? Yeah. Oh, they're not actually going to follow that one up. Just resisting the temptation to go in, and at the end, as you said, the tower's traded. Gold even. Some small fights here and there, but no real advantage gained by either side.
So what really should have been an advantage for K1ck, G2 Vodafone actually kind of come back a little bit stronger on, just with the way they reacted to it. You can see, though, what was cost from that is Inkos. He is down in farm and levels when it comes to his jungle, so he had to come down to equalize a lot of the push. So there's that ward up in the top side commonly seen. He's going to give Trucklax the ability to just say, okay, I'm going to walk out of lane if there's a support coming with you, but if you're on your own, I'm going to stick around for a little while. We did see Vizicachi fall prey to that once in the semifinals of LCS. LeChase very low here.
Inkos is his aggression is so tempered.
I mean, LeChase, you should back out.
I think he's just trying to fight for that Razor Sight. Either way, I mean, LeChase definitely needs to walk his way out of this one, and just going to back off here. But this is the power of Nidalee. This is the bullying we were expecting in the early game. Making sure that all the jungle belongs to her, and Sendo once again relegated under this tower.
If LeChase wasn't so low, though, this is actually an incredibly risky invade from Inkos. Mid lane was pushed away, it was pushing towards G2V. Bot lane pushing towards G2V. So if Inkos hadn't have seen the health bar there, he would have actually probably not have invaded, just because of how difficult it would have been. Bottom lane, though, Inkos did see a ward with that Razor Sight. So he's going to walk over another one as well, so they know he's there. Didn't have the time to clear that one, though, as it was expiring. Just the information traded back and forth between the two teams so far.
And no major advantage gained yet. You can see the gold just about even. 100 advantage for G2. Nothing much. It's the difference in the farm in the top lane, and of course on the 80 carries. The small jungle lead for LeChase. Not amounting to too much, but tower pressure is going down. Inkos is low mana. It's going to make him tough to have an impact here on the bottom side. And it's actually a pretty scary group of 4 to kind of threaten this tower.
Yeah, and all of this is stemming from the fact that So is freezing in the top side. And freezing is always very dangerous in a lane swap because it depends on how your opponents actually react. And, you know, deal with diving under a tower. They actually back away because there are 3 members of G2V in the bottom side, so you don't want to have to dive under that. They were bringing Shiko across in the attempt at a 5 versus 3, but didn't feel like the dive was on. Teleports were still available by pretty much everybody. Well, available by everybody, but most people were bot side anyway, so no real chance at that dive.
Interesting, of course, as we move forward. You can see now a 2v2 lane, although 80 carry top lane, not 80 carry support. Although they are getting aggressive, Rux. Just going to drop some concussive blow stacks.
And this is the difficulty now, is because you've got a Caitlyn going up against a Trundle and a Thresh. So as long as nobody gets hooked, you should be fine. It is, however, building an advantage for So. You can see the CS lead now up to 14 for him. So he's pushed a big wave now into this top side, into the turret. Slight gold lead because of it, about 300 gold between the 80 carries.
Of course, 1,000 in the inventory. Can look to start completing some of those early items. Do you think, what's the strength here to have Kalista ahead at this stage of the game? Like, what is Kalista looking for? I
mean, the strength is that Kalista is going to be relevant in the time where Caitlyn kind of has that somewhat of a dip off. It's less prominent now with the way that Caitlyn works with the rapid fire cannon, the headshot, the hurricane as well. So you certainly still have to wait for some of her extra items, whereas Kalista, you're always going to have a fair amount of damage. You're going to be able to stack up those Ren stacks, utilize the ultimate as well, get into a fight. So there's still a fair amount of damage for her. So the benefit would be that you're trying to spike a little bit earlier than that Caitlyn and getting further ahead because of it, but it's not the kind of thing that's going to straight up win a game for you, though.
Not quite yet. Kalista now returning to the bottom side of the map. To see what they decide to do, as Trundle has also decided to retreat.
What I will say, though, is there was no punish that came out from k1ck on that actually being frozen in the top side. And k1ck actually fell a little further behind with Trucklax than they were expecting to from that because he wasn't able to get any farm. So G2 Vodafone got away with freezing there in a situation where very rarely you should get away with freezing. Realistically, k1ck should have been able to pressure a tower or the dragon or just another objective, a part of the map where you can have that presence by having a non-TP user on the top side of the map really should have been exploited.
Not capitalizing on those little opportunities, especially in a tournament that has been all about small opportunities, snowballing games. May find an opportunity to do so now, although you can see Kalista farm and level advantage here on the bottom side. Could threaten with that Fate's Call in mid lane. Victor, one of the reasons he's always going to be strong in that meta whenever he has the damage for team fights is he can just either wave, walk away, death ray. May not kill very many champions these days, but definitely does some work on those creeps.
Mini Duke is going to give away that blue buff to Inkos. Inkos, the jungler, is going to be like, well, I'm keeping this one. You don't get it. Not for you, mid lane. You're fine as it is.
You already built a catalyst in a tier.
Yes, looking for that stacking up. Of course, tier now not quite the same as it used to. Just going to give you back some of the mana that you actually spend. So
won't hurt
we'll
too bad.
Have pretty good regen.
Yeah, and of course Rise also. Damage he takes gonna get turned around. Or mana, the new catalyst passive. Pretty interesting to play with.
Damage gives you mana. Mana using abilities gives you mana. Everything gives you mana.
It's everything.
And you know what else gives you mana?
Oh my gosh, what else gives me mana stress?
Ocean.
I want to call this dragon Frank Ocean, but I feel like that's rude because people keep killing him, and I love Frank Ocean. I don't want that to happen, but great steal. I'm stuck in my own little jokes, and the fight starts to go down. Beautiful cast coming in from LCK as well. Fate's Call not going to do a whole heck of a lot. Falco moving forward, but k1ck, he's getting burned through. That's first blood for Sue. Maybe looking to make it two. The Nidalee is chasing down. Ruck's going to get burned through. Beautiful hook. Falco making the plays. Nidalee grabbing another one, and G2 a massive advantage.
And this is the thing, G2, they start off the dragon and it looked to be good for them. The steal comes in from LeChase, but the 3 kills are going to be what is key for this. Trucklax is also pushing up in the top side, so a good fight for G2 is going to transition into damage on the inner fight on the bottom side. So a bit of a mismatch of position on the map when you look at it, but G2 Vodafone coming out ahead.
Absolutely insane team fight. I think Kalista just so strong in that engage, and overall the team coordination.
Just to save the tower.
All right, saving the tower. Is going to give up tier 2 in the bottom lane, however, and the gold lead just explodes. They go from a 400 lead to about 2,500. Massive shift in the favor of G2. They do give up the Ocean Drake in the end, as we're going to probably catch on this replay, but the fight pretty much goes south from there. Yeah,
so Frank Ocean finds himself on the kick lineup for a little bit here, but watch the hooks from Falco. We talked about how do you play Thresh in this kind of setup. We've talked about the difficulties, and it turns out you just hook people in the Dragon Pit. It's fairly easy. So here was Kalista having the opportunity to back earlier, is able to get a little bit more itemization before this fight, get a bit more damage. There was the hook that came out from Falco.
Missed flash, just a prank, dude. Gonna walk around the corner, gonna make that happen. I mean, just excellent play, excellent execution on that fight. They seem so coordinated there, and that, I mean, something normally we praised k1ck for.
And this is the benefit of having that Kalista having had that freeze. Now she is further ahead, even more so with the kill, with the assists that go along on top of it. Now So has the CS lead. It's going to be very difficult for k1ck to get into this game. Very difficult.
Trying to run. Dark Passage.
I was going to say, very difficult for Trundle to get out, but there's the other benefit of Thresh, has that Dark Passage. Now Thresh is caught. Doesn't really have the same opportunity. Oh no, LeChase.
Moving forward, Falco! That's not what you want! Oh, burned down in an instant.
The ult didn't hit, but it didn't matter. Result was the same.
Gets the spear back, though. I like that. Not much, but a nice little consolation prize there in the end. And Sendo has to be careful here rooming through. k1ck trying to make it back into this game. They're not out yet, of course. It's 12 minutes. 2K is not the end of the world, but now they're trying to make some plays, make an impact, and balance that gold out as they burn through this pink ward and set their sights on the bottom lane tower.
I think one of the difficulties for me, though, is now look at Miniduke having had his core items, has not really been shut down. Good side of things for K1ck is, though, they're taking the bottom tower. Worrying in the top lane, though. Here comes the TP. Trucklax is caught behind, well, not quite behind enemy lines. It's in coast, it is.
Like, come to me, Nidalee, you will be my dash. Manages to make it out safe.
TP expended from Miniduke, so they lose bottom tower in exchange for not a lot so far. They're going to even it out with a tower push on the top side for tier 1, but K1ck already getting tier 2 bot.
I mean, yeah, there's good exchange from K1ck. They see the over-expenditure of resources, and now they're shifting it back. The goal is actually going to go in their favor after that one, I say, right as the tower drops, and it's no longer in their favor. But they've pretty much balanced it out at this point.
You got baited. Baited by the tower going down before the second did. Yeah, I know, right? At this point, though, Trundle's not going to do a whole lot on his own mid lane right now, because in comes Trucklax and says, yeah, you can go away from my tower for now. Which is going to be the next dragon? That's what I want to find out. Okay, it's Mountain. It's fine. That's not a bad one, but
yeah,
I was hoping. I had a bad joke lined up.
Really, I'm hoping for Mountain, Mountain Cloud Infernal, so I can make an Earth, Wind, and Fire joke. But one, no one will get that because no one in our age group listens to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and two, it's very unlikely.
So this is a really random anecdote. They're always on the radio whenever. You know, in America, like in LA.
It's true.
Like, everybody always listens to it.
American radio is notoriously bad, though, so I maybe stay away from that. It's pretty good here in Berlin, but it's really bad in the United States. So maybe we stray away from that in terms of if you're looking for some solid new music, because it's mostly just stuff that's been playing for the last 20 years already.
That is very true. Luckily, 14 minutes isn't 20 years, so for K1ck right now, they are trying to find themselves a way back in this game. Only 1,500 gold down. And you got to feel like it's this guy, or this guy, that is going to be their way
these
back
guys.
in the game. It could be you to get them back in the game. It's going to be the damage that comes from k1ck or Chico. If they can get back in, is what you have to feel. But for G2 Vodafone, they're still waiting on Miniduke to kind of finish powering up, getting there on his core items already. So I just feel like I hope that giving away 3 power picks is not the undoing for K1ck just straight up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like making that big of a mistake in air quotes in Champion Select is not really how you want to see a team lose.
No, definitely not. We want it to come down to, I mean, at the end of the day, it does come down to map play, right? But if Nidalee is the reason, if Nidalee is landing those spears and winning you those early fights, and you can never come back from that, Nidalee is the reason. I feel like, or not respecting the Nidalee, maybe the reason that G2 would have won out there.
But then at the same time, one of the reasons why G2 Vodafone have taken an advantage in the beginning of this game is not because of those 3 picks. It's actually been from the Kalista and just the way that they've got her through the game. Now 1-0-2 at this. The Thresh as well has been instrumental with the hook. So I think Ghana is the argument perhaps in this game where it was just Champion Select straight up, at least through the early game. I feel like K1ck's movements on the map have cost them as well. I would like to go and see, well, at least, you know, in a hypothetical world, if this wasn't a lane swap, how this game would have played out. But certainly I feel like with the hand that they've been dealt, G2 Vodafone have themselves a good lead. It's a Mountain Drake going over to K1ck, though. Mountain
Drake slowly going down. Trundle on the backside, but he may have gone too deep before his team was ready. Gravity Field goes in. Su gets stunned, though. Oh, my God, that damage! Flash forward. Shot actually not blocked. Dragon wants a piece of the action. He's not going to get the kill, but now K1ck are going to take this down uncontested. Great use of the funnel there to get out the Victor damage.
And that's going to be the Mountain Dragon going over to K1ck. In the end of all things, so G2 Vodafone thought they wanted the fight and had to turn themselves around. This has been quite a back and forth game.
K1ck, yeah, coming back into this game, only 1,000 down, grabbing their second dragon. Those stats, of course, not showing up on your goal screen, so worth potentially a lot of money. And I gotta say, my favorite thing about this game is the fact that every time K1ck take an objective, Inko hits someone in the face with a spear and walks away. That's the consolation prize. But K1ck aren't happy with just taking a spear to face. It looks like they may want to try to burn through this tower. Miniduke on the front lines. He's taking so much damage though. He's not tanky yet. Oh my God, k1ck gonna grab that kill. Miniduke overstays his welcome.
Inkos.
That cat, can she make it out? Wow.
That was
so much damage.
So much damage, and so much damage just went on to k1ck as well as they're pushing for this middle tower. So k1ck looking to equalize a little bit of this lead that G2 Vodafone have. It will now swing in their favor, and all of the good work that G2V had, made pressure on the last dragon. That was the fight that they won just after that Ocean Dragon. Now it comes back to bite them because it's k1ck that take the second dragon, deal the fight better, and now G2 Vodafone are on the back foot.
This is one of those reasons we've seen Victor become so much more popular. The Abyssal Scepter now coming out from him. You can see Rise tries to step forward in that gravity field. He does not have the cleanse. He does not have any tools to get through this. And as a result, that stun comes through and the damage just comes out from this k1ck lineup. They're hitting so hard at this stage of the game despite falling behind early on.
And that's the thing. They still need to buy time for the Caitlyn, for k1ck to get into this. But just with the Hurricane, it allows them to clear waves pretty effectively. Also get the headshot stack proc up more.
Headshot stack proc.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with the words on this one, but you get what I mean.
You're looking for the right phrase, and you
often.
got it. Yeah, and it's gonna make her that much more lethal in those team fights.
It will. I'm looking at G2 Vodafone options here though, and I'm not talking about plans.
I mean,
for data. G2 right now, they're running a fairly low engage comp without a hook actually landing. You got a Trundle Pillar.
You got a Fate's Call?
Yeah, you do have Fate's Call. Okay, that's a fair one. But that relies on you being close enough with your AD carry as it is. Hook lands on LeChase.
LeChase, Snare still going to go down. Victor throwing down the gravity field. Chase making it out with his life, but that was close. Playing with fire there.
Yeah, I guess you're right with Fate's Call when you take it into account. But they're always looking for like single target crowd control to start the fight.
And to be fair, I wasn't saying it's like the most insane engage option. I wasn't saying that they have an abundance of engage. I'm just like, they've got one thing. They've got one Alistair-esque knockup.
But what it does mean is you've got to close the distance on a Victor and a Caitlyn. And as soon as you get into that range where they can hit you and you haven't engaged yet, is always a tough fight to balance the engage for.
Think about that zone of control as we see these two hit each other in the face a few times. It's just traps, gravity field. How do you approach a team with that kind of CC, with that kind of threat?
Yeah.
You step on a trap, you're going to get gravity field, vice versa.
And then disengage from the Gragas, from the Braum alongside it as well. Hook lands again. LeChase actually doesn't care. It's the third one that's landed, and he's like, fine.
They don't want to collapse on this. He's just going to throw, oh my, the laser over the wall, taking out half of Su's health. Shiko. Eventually I'll say his name.
It's okay. It's fine. There's only going to be like a lot of tweets at you that you've mispronounced it.
I'll get it right. I'm sorry,
I'm
Portuguese
still working
fans.
on trucklax because somebody said we were saying it wrong, and I'm trying to figure out how you could say it differently.
I like calling it trucklax.
But I'm trying to figure out how to say it differently.
That name makes me happy.
it reads somewhat phonetically to me. Shiko, I can see there's an X in there. It's always a bit of a wild card.
Yeah. What does the X sound like?
Is it like a Chinese
As a man
X?
whose name
is it
technically has a T and an S, but they sound like a C? Trust me, I understand.
We know. for those of you at home, we've been telling Mr. Dracos that he should have just gone with like actual name of Dracos. It's way cooler than Sifa.
Love Sifa.
Sifa.
I gotta stick true to myself. Let me follow my dreams.
For those of you playing the How the Heck Do I Spell Sifa on Twitter game, keep playing, keep guessing. Answers on a postcard.
You'll never guess. Only 3,000 people have figured it out so far.
Wow, boasting. I see how it is.
I'm not comparing to you,
comes
my
the
friend.
fight, though.
Oh my gosh, they may have bit off more than they could chew. Victor moving forward, the K1ck. Falco's ticket out of that fight. Lucky for him. 1 second later, and he would have been right in the jaws of death.
Oh, speaking of. I was going with the jaws of death, but it turns out they're backing away.
Yeah, I was like inconsequential amounts of damage.
Yeah.
It's so hard to not get excited because when Poppy got released, she was just killing everybody. But now there's so many tanks in that top line.
Oh, didn't hit with the Q. Yeah, so many tanks just means there's a little bit of crowd control. But look at what G2V are doing here. They've forced back kick from the turret. Now Hook lands that time on Shiko.
Great block coming in there from Rux. May have saved his mid laner's life in the end there.
That feeling when you hook one of the enemy and it actually stalls your team out from killing the tower that's in front of you because you have to back yourselves away. Been a bit of a stalled game the last few minutes when you look at it, just in general. Not a lot of objectives taken, not a lot of towers pushed. It was a nice attempt by G2V, but we have the Dragon coming up fairly soon.
Dragon is spawning, as you said, 30 seconds. On the way in.
We're going to have air, so you could have had Earth, Wind, and Ground, which...
Earth, Wind, and Ground. Your favorite.
Oh, Earth and Wind. Oh, it's already there.
Earth, Wind, and Earth.
I'm so stupid.
I wasn't trying to do that as a burn. I legitimately...
I was like Earth and Mountain. I'm like,
I was like, Earth, Wind, and Ground. What a crazy combination of drinks. 3 have already spawned.
Oh, it's been a long day.
No, I understand. What I'm trying to say is I wasn't any
it's
further
fine.
away. We're good. I'm unintentionally BMing you at every turn, and it's really
okay.
just
it's good.
through sheer incompetence, and it's working out well for me.
Well, this is going to be the Cloud Drake.
I was going to say, speaking of sheer incompetence, but I don't think that's the setup we want. Hook just barely going to miss. Moving forward, though, that's the flash in. Suddenly, Falco's in the team. The box goes down. The fight keeps going. Victor is going to get burned down. The Nidalee looking for the solo kill. Not going to find it. The stun goes down. Zico trying to make it happen. Gravity field. So much damage. But meanwhile, Truckslacks getting burned through along with the rest of the squad. They've got 2 dragons. They've got 3 now. And they're going to walk away with their lives, but at the cost of 2.
LeChase with the steal right at the end, you know, rolls his way over the wall to get himself out alive. But the key thing in that fight was k1ck could have come out even better from that fight, but k1ck fell in the backline because Sendo actually took him out. Teleport onto the middle lane to save the turret for now.
Zico ready in a moment's notice. Mini Duke gonna back out of that one. He's ready for the snare, but he can't afford to get locked up by that gravity field. And G2, I feel like every time they find an advantage, it just bites back.
So there's 2 parts to this. The fight and then the actual objective going over. Look at how k1ck gets zoned down by Sendu. There's no damage coming out from k1ck on the rest of the fight. So what it means is G2 Vodafone are able to take the fight pretty convincingly, but then the rest of k1ck just decide, while Truckslacks is keeping everybody else busy, to turn and go for the objective and get themselves back out. That could have gone so much better for G2 Vodafone. They win the fight, lose the objective, and could have had both if they'd have been able to switch their focus back into the middle, but that would have been tough and a little bit risky.
And if EUCS just hadn't one more millisecond from that Nidalee, one less tick of anything, whether it's concussive blows or the damage from the gravity storm,
would have been
and he would have soloed out Zico. He would have 2v1 in that exchange to grab the 1-for-1 exchange or 1-for-1 trade. And without Victor there, you know that the fight gets so much easier because you saw a gravity field just stopping all ability to advance on the side of G2.
Yeah, and honestly, this game is super back and forth right now between these 2 teams. G2 Vodafone have managed to hold a slight lead for the last 10 or so minutes, but between the 2 of them, honestly, it's fairly even. I mean, I'm liking what G2 Vodafone have been doing when it comes to what So is doing, what Falco is doing in these fights. When it comes to k1ck, though, they've been contesting a little bit better. They've been able to get a couple of objectives and keep themselves ticking up when it comes to their dragon counter. And that means when Elder spawns, there's going to be trouble if they manage to get their hands on that.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, interested to see if they can snag another objective, but good diversity in terms of what they've picked up already. And, you know, mountain, cloud, ocean, pretty much everything you want.
Oh, Falco, careful.
Moving forward, hold back by the Fates call. His ticket out of that fight. But you can see k1ck looking really aggressive now that they've started to get into their mid-game stride. Caitlyn picks up an IE, and things just look like they're getting easier. Oh! That didn't do as much damage as I thought it would.
No, not a lot.
No.
k1ck are going to push for the turret, though.
Throwing down that
for the Nidalee.
Have to be careful. Spear blocked out. Tower taking a decent amount of damage. TP's coming in to stop the minions from going down. Braun looks for the disengage. Isn't going to find a target. The team is getting pinched in. k1ck looking for a way to play safe. Nidalee does land the spear. Going to jump forward. Is he going to be able to assassinate the AD carry? They members start dropping left and right. EUCS is still alive, but the gravity field is going to burn him down. Chaos Storm, rather. Rux moving forward, getting taken down. Kalista is running rampant through this fight. Sendo moving forward. The pillar comes down. Victor, he's going to drop to the shutdown over to Kalista. 4-0-3 her scoreline now as they're going to push down the mid.
As soon as G2V managed to get So into the fight, they were able to turn it back around, and they boxed in k1ck very nicely in that mid lane engage. There was a little bit of difficulty actually getting into the fight because of the trap line that was actually there, but G2 Vodafone are in a really good position now coming from that fight. They may have lost out on a lot of dragons, but they've punished k1ck every time that they've overextended for an objective, and now G2V are looking for another turret of their own. This would be the the top inner turret going down. LeChase maybe needs to be careful. He's got 2 more members of his team coming with him.
Rux on the way. Concussive blow stacks going down, but Marshall poised, taking So to safety. 2 stacks on him. The slow coming out. Caitlyn hungry for blood. Moving forward, the stun drops, and so does Kalista. G2 give up a life, but they still grab that tower.
But the problem is now, is there a call from k1ck to say just go to the Baron here? LeChase is fairly low, but if people just swap the aggro, they could have maybe looked to do it, but look at Nidalee still around. EUCS is there. Even on levels, but it doesn't matter. Just the poke alone would have been enough to deter them from that. So no Baron call by k1ck at this point. could have maybe been a chance to engage. So we're looking back at this middle lane fight. Watch the trap line here. It's not perfect, which means that G2 Vodafone still find their way through this to the fight, but k1ck now boxed in, fighting a war on two fronts here. miniDuke is going to put out a fair amount of damage, as is inkos, and it's enough to just stall for the rest of G2 Vodafone to play Minesweeper and then come in with the Dark Passage into the rest of the fight. Victor Ultimate is already out of the fight, so that's not doing any more damage. And from there, G2 Vodafone are able to clear up with this Kalista that is doing such a good job.
Yeah, and I think it's just, you saw the CC come out, and once everything had come out and every cooldown had been burned and Kalista was still standing, she just gets to clean up that team fight. No one's going to get away from her. She's got the mobility from her passive, and I think that's the exact kind of fight that G2 want, even if it means sacrificing miniDuke at the start. If Kalista gets to run free, they're going to keep winning these fights.
The problem is, though, G2 Vodafone, to have a fight like that, they had to pretty much punish k1ck for being too far up the map. Without that massive amount of engage, without the Kalista ult, that kind of thing, it's tough to start those fights on their own. So k1ck, if they're a little bit more cautious about de-warding behind them, not pushing up too far out when everybody's got their TPs, there is still a chance that that type of fight doesn't happen again. But certainly G2 Vodafone have a little bit more of a basis to build from here. They can look to close out some of the lower parts of the map here from k1ck. You can see the vision control is already down there with Trundle.
We've seen him blow people up on this Rise pick. Not going to happen there, though.
Dragon up in 20. It's Ocean. Will be the last dragon before Elder Dragon spawns. So at this point, G2 Vodafone would be nice. Yeah, they've got one Drake from before Elder. Everything else has gone to k1ck.
And we don't, I mean, we can't say 100% that this dragon's going to go over. We've seen Gragas steal a lot.
Yeah, we have. You're right.
No,
he did steal the one earlier.
Yeah,
so.
but that died super fast. inkos moving forward, throwing out the spear. Looks like it hit, but Gragas a little bit skinnier.
He's been on a diet.
Yeah. Forward. Beer-based diet, though. Fate's Call coming out, actually going to deny that explosive cast. Great reaction time.
I'm pretty sure he's on the beer-basted diet.
The beer-based.
Beer-based diet.
I like that. You got the Gragas diet plan figured out.
Just like that seafood diet.
Oh my gosh.
You know the end of that one.
Oh yeah. Moving in. Sendo actually just doing a really good job of pushing here on the bottom, and I feel like this may be one of the weaknesses of Poppy, is she just doesn't stack up very well against the Trundle as we push forward, especially with the changes to QSS.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult now because you can't get rid of that Subjugate, as you alluded to. So once out, he's just like, well, I'm Kalista, but I don't really feel like we got the damage to do this quite yet with the rest of k1ck closing in. And that bottom lane that Sendo's been pushing in against Trucklex on makes it very difficult for k1ck because they're basically having to always deal with the Trundle time and time again.
Yeah, Poppy just really doesn't have the tools to fight him. No damage in that k1ck quite yet, and even with the Iceborne. Trades are still going to be hard to win out on Trundle with the Spirit Visage, with the Ravenous Hydra. So much regen in that kit. You can see G2 still pushing in, still always kind of flirting with disaster as they poke in around this Baron area, ready to take it if they're ever given the chance.
The thing is, though, they've got a little bit more safety in their fights now. miniDuke picked up that GA. It's that situation where you're on Rise and you're thinking, I've got my core. I don't really need anything else. GA, and that'll be good. I'll just stay alive a little bit longer.
Why does that happen so much in this tournament? Gnar, I'm winning top lane really hard and against the Zillion.
Well,
GA.
I mean, it's fairly common for a Rise as it is. Just to kind of go third item, like be, okay, just give me a GA, it'll be fine. I'll just take everybody out in this fight.
I'm tanky.
Yeah,
Let's just give me another life.
Exactly. Doesn't really matter about anything else. Yeah, GA is just one of those items right now that we kind of commonly see when everybody's like, well, I need a defensive item, and I don't really feel too much like getting a Banshee's Veil.
I can see you're about as excited about the GA as I imagine Rise is. But it's still a good buy, still obviously offering a lot here. And we'll see how important that extra life is in these fights, especially when we look at miniDuke's last fight where he was instantly blown up, and if he had been able to respawn there, may have been able to get something much greater in the exchange. But once again, as we watch the bot lane trades head in, with those guys trade blows, it's just going to be more vision control dropped around the Baron pit. Both teams vying for control, hoping that one team is caught sleeping and they can get that major objective.
Well, it's going to be a little while longer until we see that. I don't actually know whether k1ck want to push up this far. They could opt for a repeat. There could be a repeat performance. They He should clear that ward out. But what they have done is pink ward behind them in the lane. You don't commonly see pink wards being dropped there. You normally see just regular wards. The reason it's a pink ward is because it's not exactly that expensive and it clears out any wards that are in the lane behind them.
Maybe block out the opportunity for that teleport flank.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's there to watch out for. So people will be like, well, you wasted a pink ward. And then you realize, no, you actually pushed up, had the clear vision. You didn't get engaged upon, so the pink ward's actually kind of worth. Although, look at all the other wards that are behind them on the top side.
Very
so,
true.
You know, in that little section,
yeah. In this one, we'll have an extra second or two before there is suddenly a Trundle immediately behind us. Of course, looking in, you can see the division game continuing forward. This is the Baron dance we know and love. Side lanes farming, Trundle pushing in, Poppy doing her best to defend, and the rest of the team just waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a misstep from the other side.
Waiting for a misstep. These always make for the most fun games that are completely explosive.
Oh, Mini Duke, did you overstay your welcome, my friend?
Whoa!
Flash, instantly going in. Are they going to try to pop the GA? Not going to happen. Seraph's used as well. It's a lot of damage. Mini Duke is going to have to back out, but he does have the TP, even if he has lost the flash.
Yeah, that animation happened so quickly. I was like, did he just become Mr. Fantastic and just like grab onto it over the wall? Oh, hang on.
Oh, Inko's not going to get knocked up. He has to flash as well. K1ck getting good advantages here, and now setting sights on red. Baron could be next on the menu as Inkos is being bullied out of his own jungle, but Falco landing the hook. He hits the Fat Man spear.
So they want it. TP coming in.
This is the flank that they could look for. Mini Duke's been in before. He does have the GA. So much damage in this pinch. Victor flashes into his team, tries to make it out to safely, but G2 grabbed the support. The respawn coming in from Rise. Victor moving in with the ult, and it's so much damage, but Caitlyn is here for cleanup duty. Kindred instantly annihilated. The flash forward. Inko's trying to get it. k1ck looking for the outplay, the sidestep on the hook. He's unstoppable with the spear over the wall. Inkos, the hero his team needs. Moving forward. Gragas, can he win the duel? Nidalee is just so mobile. Looking to hop over. No, the auto, the extra range, grabbing the double kill for himself, and what a bloodbath.
A real back and forth fight on the top side of this map. Mini Duke TP's in and goes, okay, I'm going to have to go 1v3, but it's just to close the distance for the rest of my team. Soaks up enough time to get So into that fight. It looked like So was going to clean up, but then a massive shot from k1ck actually took him out that we're going to see happen a little bit later here. So looking for the engage here were k1ck, but they step a little too far forward, start taking the damage, and this buys the time for Rise to come up through. Inkos dropped really low to begin this one out, and here's the delay tactics. The hook comes out onto the Gragas, onto LeChase. This is Mini Duke saying, okay, well, I'm dying on the first one here, but hopefully I'll get enough damage out. Didn't actually get too much out because nice layering of crowd control into a trap. Here's the Caitlyn damage. Look at the health of So. Between the Victor and the Caitlyn, just absolutely annihilate him. And k1ck could have perhaps won this if he'd sidestepped. Well, he would have won it if he'd sidestepped the spear. Didn't have the vision on it. Would have been enough to clean up with LeChase to block, but unfortunately a good spear, depending on how you look at it, unfortunately, from Inkos on to the Caitlyn, and
no.
Over the wall.
Gonna pick that one up in the end, and at the end of the day, I mean, good fight from both sides, but gotta give a shout out that Victor, such patience holding that ult till the mid of the fight and makes it work, but the TP's coming in. G2 are ready to collapse. Baron burning down 5k health and dropping. LeChase smite at the ready.
Here in time.
Gravity Field trying to deny this out. They've hooked LeChase. They're moving forward. They're trying to get him away from the Baron. Kalista trying to get into the pin. Can they secure it? LeChase is still hitting the Baron, but now they're turning their sights on the fight. Mini Duke goes down. Sue tries to pull him out, but there's a lot of damage coming in. Oh my god, instantly popped. The teamwork coming in.
k1ck? Oh, too late.
They're gonna grab it. Inko's not gonna get the steal, and k1ck grabbed the Baron. They grab the fight, and they're grouped up and ready for more.
Oh, G2 Vodafone that interrupted in just the right time. The Baron was still at around 3,000 health, so that's the point where k1ck have to make the decision to either go for the Baron or peel back and look for the fight. And of course, you have to look for the fight at that situation. 3,000 health is way too much, and you're 50-50ing on the fact that it's not going to be just a smite war. So k1ck took the fight. The problem was G2 Vodafone weren't all there. Mini Duke once again falling in a fight without putting a kill on the board. And it has been very difficult for this Rise to get in this game. And you know, k1ck, they gave away 3 top-tier picks that we've seen here in the CS qualifiers, and it doesn't seem to have mattered because k1ck have fought their way back into this game. They're taking the inhibitor, looking for this lead.
They've got such a massive lead now. It's only 3k, but that's 3 dragons up. Additionally, breaking the inhibitor, using those Baron recalls. We'll take the fight one more time, and you can see exactly what went wrong here for G2.
So look at it. The Baron's just under 3k health. The Chase gets distracted, has to now kind of peel back down with the rest of his team, but Miniduke taken out before he can do all that much in this fight. Then So uses the ultimate, and Falco uses it to get himself out of the fight. And from here, the rest of G2 Vodafone can't do too much. There was vision in the pit. And EUCS went in just too late.
And there's
just, already gone down.
And there's just no front line there for Kalista in that fight. You can see Ku trying to do damage, but at the end of the day, when Victor and Caitlyn both get to focus you, it's just, yeah, you've got a Ma, yeah, you've got all this lifesteal, but there's just too much damage on the opposite side.
Right, and that's the difficulty of having a Ryze that just dies at the beginning of this fight, a Trundle that's already dead, and then like a Thresh that's trying to get in. I think Trundle actually survived that fight, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, didn't even really go in.
He hasn't died. He's got no deaths on his scoreboard, but yeah, it was the Thresh that was almost dead. That's the problem. If your front line isn't there for you, good luck staying alive, even if you are a Kalista.
Yeah, so really, once one piece of CC hits, you are pretty much done for if you do not have someone to peel off for you, if you do not have that extra assistance. And you can see now, they've taken the mid, shifting their attention towards the bot. Sendo trying to flash out, body slam. Just, if it was just slightly faster. Not going to get it. Team pushing in. The Victor and the Caitlyn are just so strong. 3-0-7 though, the score for the Chase. Maybe the unsung hero for this team. Steals a dragon at the start. Gets the Baron for the team, and now the turret is set to go down here. They're not comfortable contesting this one. Thresh looking for the hook, but just gonna grab the minion. Tower drops, inhibitor next, ace in the hole, making sure Miniduke does not feel comfortable on the back lines there. k1ck with that range, burning through this one pretty easily, and k1ck grab their second inhibitor, now set up to close out this game.
They just fall back over the trap line, give them the safety of backing away. That's Trucklax it hits, so the hook is not going to be enough at this situation, and G2 Vodafone just don't have the options to engage here. They're too far behind and trying to deal with you know, a tanky Gragas, a Braum, a Poppy with the Kalista at this point. I mean, Kalista, we've seen her do work in the team fights, but unfortunately at this point, the Caitlyn's just going to out-damage her now, and the front line for G2 Vodafone is going to fall faster than they can create the opening for So. And what started as such a good game for G2 Vodafone has come right back into k1ck's favor. And you look at it, could have gone a different way, but k1ck have done a good job of closing this to this point at least. Insanely
strong performances here from the side of k1ck to bring this one back. Rarely do we see teams with such confidence able to execute out, but gotta say G2, they're not 100% out yet. 2 inhibitors. We've seen teams make mistakes. We've seen games extend past this point and look to that 45, 50-minute mark where one team fight can decide it all, but at this point, G2 cannot accept anything less than perfect execution. And I mean, k1ck's amazing performance aside, G2 never seemed to be quite on the same page in these exchanges. Oh, they're on the same page on that. Chico, is he in trouble moving forward? Oh my gosh, Nidalee gonna get burned through Chaos Storm though. She may have bought a little bit of time, but she's still gonna go down. No, she's not, but Thresh is gonna get dropped by the Caitlyn. Miniduke immediately burned through. LeChase trying to stop any advantage from G2. Miniduke gonna get knocked up. Spear not gonna kill k1ck this time, and k1ck are now poised to close this one out. 2 members down. Sendo trying to buy time, but they may not even need the minions. Although 2 members of k1ck gonna go back just to humor him a bit. Aggressive plays. They may be trying to isolate the Victor because they need to get some kills if they want to keep this one going. Rux left all alone, moving forward. Gotta respect that Victor though. Chico, excellent play on this Victor.
But look, Caitlyn's just gonna go try and end the game from here.
Are you serious? They're just moving forward?
They're just moving to Nexus turrets.
Oh my gosh, you can try to play team deathmatch, but at the end of the day, this is League of Legends, and the Nexus is what matters. Caitlyn's got an inner sight. She's burning it down. The team, no effort to take this one. They built a lead, they executed, and they won out in the end. Portugal can be proud. k1ck Esports take the win.
They take the win, and what looked like a bit of a rough start for them comes back. They managed to even everything up, and man, k1ck's damage at the end there. Whew,
oh my gosh.
That was toasty damage from Caitlyn on that.
And that's the thing, is it's like we praise them for getting the Kalista ahead on the side of G2V, but when the mid game came around, they won one fight with it, and then they didn't really use it, and now we're in late game, and this is Caitlyn's stomping ground. This is when you just get to hit everything from the safety of range and just do tons of damage.
But you've got to look at the confidence of k1ck to go, Okay, we'll leave Rise open. We'll leave
We'll
Nidalee open.
give you the Nidalee.
We'll leave Trundle open.
Trundle
We can
and the
take all
Poppy.
of them.
Who needs it?
So it was a risky strategy that could have backfired. G2V didn't really know how to extend their lead further than that 2K mark, where they had a couple of turrets, but the Dragons were going over to kick the entirety of the game. So unfortunately, without the ability to like start the fights properly, G2 Vodafone were like, oh, well, we have this lead, but we can't actually win from it. We need you to just walk into this hook so we can catch you out. A little unfortunate because I felt like their early game was actually pretty strong. So I'm disappointed that they didn't win, but obviously nice to see k1k come back into it as well.
And I gotta say, they played around the Rise so well. It feels like Victor's a pretty good answer overall because they just threw down those gravity fields in so many fights, and Rise is like, well, I'll try and run into it. I'll stand back here. And then every time Mini Duke went in, he was the only man going forward, and so it was so easy for them to just go, okay, exhaust.
And the other side of it is there were so few targets that the Rise could actually chunk through. You look at it, the Victor was possible, but the gravity fields were good, as you were saying. Then the Caitlyn's too far back. So playing Rise into that, you're constantly trying to run forward, trying to get a rune prison on somebody, and it's just like, well, you've got a Gragas, you've got a Poppy, and you've got a Braum. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck ever just bursting through somebody fast enough to have impact.
And Rise is tanky, right? But he can't fight two carries at the same time. He can't fight through the whole team. And I feel like one of the big issues there was that the Trundle was never finding the flanks. He was always kind of late to the fights as well. And we saw that one TP from Mini Duke. And if Trundle had TP'd at the same time, that would have been a completely different fight. They may have found different opportunities to go in there. So these small mistakes really adding up against to G2 ends up costing them the win in the end. But we have to praise K1ck once again because they took a risk in picks and bans. And it 100% worked out for them. I mean, Victor, maybe ban-worthy? I mean, it was pretty impressive.
I feel like he's having a good showing. So it's certainly one, we haven't locked down all 6 bans, but possibly Victor is making his name for that list.
Well, we're going to have to see. Maybe he'll be banned in our last game of the day. But of course, we're going to head to a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with that game in just a few moments.